What's it like flying on board a brand new plane? Wait, what's it like on a flight when everything goes wrong? What you're about to see is my worst travel day ever, and you want to stay tuned to the end as you don't want to miss what happens. This one was crazy.
Hello and welcome here to Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Today is going to be a really exciting day as we're flying on board American's brand new 787-9P in their premium economy. I'm really excited to try this plane out, and we'll be flying to London Heathrow tonight. So let's go ahead and get the experience started about flying on board American Airlines' brand new flagship plane.
And so I thought. But anyways, I had just hopped off a 3-hour domestic flight, and now I had a 3-hour layover in Chicago O'Hare. And what better way to spend a 3-hour layover before an international flight than in an Admirals Club? Today we're going to be looking at the Admirals Club between Concourses H and K, which is located on the 3rd floor above the flagship lounge. I do have to say, this lounge is very nice. It's very large and has plenty of seating. It's also just a very nice atmosphere, but keep in mind it can get very busy during peak times. In terms of food, they have everything from tiny sweet snacks all the way up to bigger, larger meals for you to eat. So the nice thing about this lounge is there's plenty of food to choose from, and you won't get hungry while you're waiting during your layover here. In terms of drinks, they have hot drink makers all throughout the lounge. And they also have a fountain drink maker for you to make different selection of Coke products and water and other juices to choose from. And overall, this lounge is very nice. And one thing to note about this lounge is it might be hard to find a seat next to the window because it gets really busy. But overall, I really like this lounge, and it was a very nice place to wait for a few hours. But now it's getting close to our departure time, so we're gonna head over to gate K9. For international flights, American Airlines uses Terminal 3 Concourse K. Today is no exception, so we're heading over to our gate. After a 5-minute walk from the Admirals Club, we can now say hello to the just over 1-month-old 787-9P registered November 842 Alpha Alpha.
And there she is, 787-9P, that's going to take us to London Heathrow tonight. And unfortunately, we are delayed because there's inclement weather and the cabin crew has not boarded the flight yet. So we're delayed, don't really know the time yet, but hopefully it's not too bad and hopefully the weather moves on soon so we can get on board this bird.
And this is where things started to go downhill very quickly. Maintenance had resumed their safety checks of the plane after waiting for the thunderstorm to pass, to which unfortunately they had found quite a serious issue with the plane.
So it's been almost an hour and we're still not on board this flight. It's pretty unfortunate that we're stuck here in Chicago right now, but it happens though. The weather's starting to improve, so hopefully we should get boarding here in maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Once maintenance clears the airplane and the crew comes back, then they'll be able to get on board, and then a little while later we'll get on board, and then we'll finally get on our way to London.
What was supposed to be quick safety checks of the plane turned into a 2-hour ordeal. You see, maintenance had found an issue with the forward door on the left-hand side. There was some issue where it was not sealing properly, so they began working on it. And they had tested it multiple times over that 2-hour time span before it was ready for the flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, after almost 4 hours of being here, yes, 4 hours, we got here about 8 o'clock. It's now 11:19. So by the time we depart, it's going to be 4 hours of being in the same part of the terminal. Looks like we're going to London. They're now loading the airplane with food, beverages, snacks, all that stuff. And you can see the Gate Gourmet behind me, but at least the flight is not getting canceled. So we're still going to get to experience the 787P, but unfortunately, this did not get off to a really good start today.
After that clip you just saw, the unthinkable happened, and our flight was canceled. What happened next was a complete turn of events that shocked everyone. But we'll talk about that at O'Hare tomorrow, as we're going to be stuck in Chicago for the night now. And welcome back to O'Hare International Airport, where it's the next day, and we're gonna see if we'll make it to London Heathrow today. And we weren't rebooked on American, but on British Airways. So we're gonna get to try out a new airline today from a different country. it's time to head back into Terminal 3 and back to the Admirals Club, as we have around 8 hours before our flight to London Heathrow on British Airways begins boarding. So it's back to the same exact Admirals Club between Concourses H and K to wait out the layover. Alright, it is officially the next day. I'm back here at the Admirals Club, and it's pretty crazy that I was here yesterday, over 24 hours ago, but that's just what happens in travel sometimes. So basically how this all started was there was bad weather that came through the area, and a pretty bad thunderstorm came through, so we were delayed because of that. And after that, there was a maintenance issue with the plane, so there was something wrong with one of the door seals. It took maintenance multiple hours to get that fixed, and once they did, it was already 11:30. We were really delayed, so the crew timed out. They went home because they were no longer able to fly that flight to London, and then we didn't have a crew, so at that point we already knew that the flight was going to cancel anyway. People started heading to customer service and gate agents and getting rebooked, and I got rebooked on British Airways. It's going to be my first time flying with them, and didn't really expect to be flying with them on this trip, but just what happens sometimes. But I'm just really hoping to get to London tonight and tomorrow, and finally finish off this travel day, as it was crazy having to go to a hotel, sleep here, come back to the airport, come back to the Admirals Club, and wait here for even longer. So fingers crossed that we'll make it to London, which we most likely will. But again, you never know what can happen, so whenever you're traveling, just be prepared for that. And also, one thing to note is that the airline did provide hotel voucher, meal vouchers, free taxi service to and from the hotel. That's nice, but it's still sad not being able to fly in the brand new premium economy, because I was really looking forward to that. And I don't know, it always feels like whenever you plan out the perfect trip, you think everything's going to go great, then everything just gets ruined and messed up. But I'm just going to continue waiting in the Admirals Club until it's time to head to the gate and get on board our flight to London Heathrow a day late. Most of my time at the Admirals Club was spent working and enjoying all of the action outside at one of the busiest airports in the US and the world's 7th busiest airport by passengers. I got to see many cool heavies, such as the Lufthansa 747 heading to Frankfurt, or the Lot 787 heading back to Poland. I even got to see our 787-10 arriving from London Heathrow and heading over to Terminal 5 to drop off passengers before being towed over to Terminal 3, where we'll be able to get on board and take the flight back to London. 6 hours later, day has turned to night, and our ride over to Heathrow is pulling up to Terminal 3. This 787-10 is going to take us the 7.5 hours over to the United Kingdom's capital. So let's get on board.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, 44J.
Are you filming? Hello. Straight ahead and turn right. Thank you.
Welcome to seat 44K, my home tonight in British Airways economy, and it's time for a seat tour now. First, each seat is fitted with personal entertainment screens with 2 audio jacks and 1 USB-A charging port. Below that, you'll find the literature pocket, which has space where literature is stowed. It was a little ironic though that the actual literature was stowed in the seat back pocket. You also find the tray table below there and the seat back pocket, which has good space for you to store your belongings during the flight. Below the seat, you'll find space for a personal item. The in-flight entertainment screens are not only adjustable, but you'll also find a coat hook on the left-hand side. Below the seat, you'll also find the universal power outlets. A fun fact about the 787 windows is that they actually use a gel-like substance to dim instead of having traditional window shades. Though I'll talk about it more and show you how the dimming works later in the flight once the sun rises. Above, you'll find the 3 reading lights, with there being 1 for each passenger. The headrest is both adjustable up and down and on the sides to optimize comfort. On the flight, you're given a pillow with a scratchy single-use cover, as well as a blanket and the earbuds. So overall, you do have enough amenities for an economy class flight like this one. But now it's time for us to depart Chicago and finally say goodbye. As we climb east into the night, it's time for the lavatory review. This lavatory, while large, is a Boeing 787 standard and has all the necessary amenities you'll need for an international flight. Now, as I return to my seat, the flight attendants were beginning the onboard service, so it's time to open up the tray table, which can be used either halfway open or fully open and can be adjusted and pulled towards you. Before the main service, a snack and drink service is offered, where you get a drink of your choice along with some pretzels. And then around 15 minutes later, the main meal service arrived. Today we had two options, where there was a pasta option and a chicken curry option, and I went with the chicken curry option. For the main dish, you get of course the chicken curry with rice and okra. On the side, you'll find a little salad. For dessert, you have this little cheesecake dessert, and it was actually pretty good. On the side, you'll also find a bread roll as well as a piece of cheese, along with water and crackers. And overall, this meal service is pretty decent, though it does feel a little generic. Now it's time for us to take a look at the in-flight entertainment on British Airways. First, let's take a look at the movies and TV shows. Overall, British Airways has a fantastic selection of movies and TV shows for you to choose from, so you won't get bored on your flight. Now on the screen, you'll find different controls for the reading light, flight attendant call button, Wi-Fi connectivity, as well as volume and brightness controls. Now let's take a look at my personal favorite part of the in-flight entertainment screen, the in-flight map. The in-flight map on British Airways is very good. It has plenty of aircraft information, flight information, and it even has a Mecca pointer for any followers of Islam who want to know which way Mecca is in order to pray. The flight information on board was actually not reset from the previous flight, so it looked like we were heading to Chicago instead of to London, and while not a big deal, it was a little funny though. But now it's time for us to rest, as it's been a really long travel day, and I'll see you in the morning. And good morning from the North Atlantic Ocean. We are currently cruising just west of Ireland, and we're slowly getting closer to London. You also might have noticed that the window is blue. That is because the gel is dimmed. The gel uses electricity to allow it to dim blue and all the way down to black to make the cabin completely dark. The 787 is known for flight attendants locking the windows and dimming it how they want, but thankfully today that was not the case. It's also time for the breakfast service, and I can say it really wasn't that good. It was just a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant and a drink of choice. For breakfast, I really expected a little more, and I do unfortunately have to say this breakfast was not the greatest. As we're nearing London, it's time for us to review British Airways economy class to see if it's worth it or not. First up, the lounge. Now of course, economy class does not get access to a lounge, but I thought I would just quickly talk about it, because if you're flying business first or you get a day pass, then you can have access to this Admirals Club as well as the others. And I do have to say, this Admirals Club, while nice, is just a little too overcrowded. Once again, it has very good food and drink options, but having just so many people going in and out constantly, it just makes the lounge feel a little too busy. Next up, the seat. The seat is just a standard economy class international seat. It's comfortable, it works for the flight, and you have a blanket, pillow, and earbuds, all the necessary things you'd need for an international flight. So once again, the seat, it's just average. Now, the food and service. I do have to say, the dinner was definitely better than the breakfast, but it was just a little generic. Don't get me wrong, the meal is filling, but they need some British Airways branding, because if I showed it to you, you definitely wouldn't know what airline it's from. And the breakfast. Just a croissant and a drink is not enough. They definitely need to add something to the breakfast and just make it a little bigger and more filling. Lastly, the in-flight entertainment is very good. It has plenty of movies, TV shows, music, and a really good in-flight map system, so I approve of it. So British Airways Economy is a pretty decent option to choose from. I do think they definitely need to step it up, especially in the food game, particularly with the breakfast, just offer a little more. But anyways, we are officially on our final descent into London, and that is going to conclude this crazy travel day. If you enjoyed, please make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to smash the subscribe button so you get notified when I post a video like this one in the future. If you're curious about London, check out this video on screen where I show you the top 16 things to do in London, England. And make sure to stay tuned for upcoming adventures beyond the UK. They're very exciting and you don't want to miss them. Thanks for flying with me, and as always, safe travels.